Are we live?
We're live. Hey, Eric Moore.
Hey, Jay-Z. Are you going to get me some incubation raps yet?
Oh, yeah, we got to do them on stage together.
That's right. I got to work on my rhyme game.
Hey, Julio, also joined. Thanks for joining, Julio. Everyone who's in the chat, type in hello, where you're coming from. And we have such a special guest with Eric today. I think this is your second podcast of the day.
It is, yeah.
You're such a star.
Yeah, well, hardly, but thank you. I appreciate it.
But I think that's the definition of a star, right? Like 2 podcasts in a day.
Yeah, my people will call your people.
Okay, that's awesome.
That's when you're a star.
Well, I'll do a quick intro and then I'll hand it over to Eric for his intro and demo that's in a treat for all of us. I'm Jay-Z. Welcome to FounderDesignThinking.com episode 18. Our goal is to find more than 10 unicorns like us. And now that we're almost episode 20, I think we've succeeded. So thanks for your help there, everyone. I also love consulting companies and helping take them from 0 to 1. I also provide coaching and software on creativity, opportunity sizing, and note-taking. Schedule time with me at the link below, and we'll get you more customers and design things to grow your business. Eric, I'm going to turn it over to you for your intro.
Yeah, thanks for the invitation. My name is Eric Moore. Some of you might know me online as the Design Thinker. And no, I don't just sit around thinking about design, but really part of my focus is helping you redesign the way you think, how you run your business, how you build your teams. I'm the head coach of Fatherly, devoted father of 3. What I really do is I help the quiet leaders out there, ones who identify as introverts. And introverts are really those who are interested in building lasting relationships, not being the loud Elon Musk's or the Oprah Winfrey's of the world. What they're really trying to do is create these meaningful teams and companies. And with my deep understanding and of communications and organizational design, I've been helping impact organizations like Microsoft and Pokemon really tap into their quiet leaders and move it to the next level. And so I'm happy to be here with you, Jay-Z, to rap about my newest adventure, the Fatherly app.
Awesome. Well, Alex and Jonathan, Julio, thanks for joining in the chat. And Eric, why don't you show your demo and show us all what you've been working on?
Yeah, just get straight into it. Why don't we? So what I have to do here for everybody is just, we have to be mindful that some of the dads on our app, we don't want to reveal some of their details or their names. So I'm going to keep this very basic. And Jay-Z, you should start to see the sharing in just a moment. And just give me a verbal.
Yep, we're on stage.
Great. So in brief, this is the Fatherly app. This is the desktop version. So things might not translate quite like you might see them on mobile. But really what we're trying to do is reach out to dads. Dads who identify as dads or helping raise children, fathers, grandfathers, really reach out and have rich discussions about their fatherhood or parenting journey. And our motto at Fatherly is we believe that dads should speak up and not just man up. We have this notion of dads have to just man up and be the disciplinarian. And while that may still be true, we still believe in having men engage in their mental health and having rich dialogue. But sometimes we recognize we don't always need to go to a therapist. We might skip the couch and go to an app or go to a coach. And so what you're seeing here is our forum where people can come in and ask for specific advice. We have a community manager in Luke who will greet you and get you used to the idea of sharing ideas and concepts. And heck, even venting about your parenthood journey. And so we also have, the Dad Hub and our Dad Wiki. And here, what you can do is you can find other groups that might be in your space. Maybe you're interested in yoga with your kids. You can find other dads within your area. Maybe have like meetups or play dates. And of course, there's Dad's Wiki, where you can get into some rich topics that our staff and my co-founder, Dr. Mia Eisenstadt, has developed and written at great length about, to help you in your journey. And then, of course, in the end here, we have our coaches. And again, this goes back to, you might not always need, a therapist. You might just want to reach out to a coach and understand, am I moving in the right direction? And am I going in the right direction with my parenthood journey? So I'm going to stop sharing here. We have a lot more to talk about, Jay-Z, in terms of our our AI conversation. But in a nutshell, that's the Fatherly app, and that's how we're connecting dads across the world to get the help that they need.
That's awesome. I think it's so important how dads function in the family, but also at work, and how those two things go together is, difficult for everyone. So I really love this mission so much. Thank you so much for doing it.
Yeah, I couldn't do it without my co-founder, Mia. She couldn't be here. She's on holiday. But hi, Mia, if you're listening. Much love to you as well.
I was curious, we only have 3 questions for this podcast, but I am now curious if Pokemon became a dad, what kind of dad he would be. We can take that later if that's too much of a putting you on the spot right now.
No, it's okay. I have dad jokes around that. Just one real quick one is, why can't you play hide and seek with Pokemon?
Why, Eric?
Because they would Pikachu. This is the world I have to live in now. Consuming all of the dad jokes that I can get, and that one comes from my son, actually. If Pokemon were a dad, well, I don't know if it would have to be Pokemon in particular, but boy, that would be fun. It definitely have lots of games. Having worked there internally, I know the way they approach different teams is very nourishing and open. Some of it can be slow moving because they want people to really sort of dig into their ideas and let them flourish. And I think that's a helpful way to look at, fatherhood too. Your kids, your employees aren't always going to do exactly what you want them to do, but not simply giving up on them or giving them a sandbox to play in, because we know that term pretty well, Jay-Z, especially in designing software. You got to give them a sandbox. And so, at least in my brief time with Pokemon, I think they would be at least the fun dad. They'd allow for a lot of the sandbox to occur.
Yeah, in the Pokemon movie, there was Psyduck, and he would get like super overwhelmed every time, like,
right.
Something surprised Psyduck, and we actually have one because it's one of my favorite toys. But I think dads and parents in general have that reaction because they're busy, or like you said, your employee's not doing what you wanted them to do. And so I think having fun and realizing maybe your kid might have no motive or different motive, and playing the game is a really great way to look at it.
Yeah, it's a good point.
So we will get into the questions. The 3 questions are: what's the impact of design thinking? 2, what's the impact of AI? And 3, any questions you have for this community. So let's talk about the first one. What's been the impact of design thinking on fatherly.com?
So design thinking, wow, you have to hit with the hardest one, don't you? Because if anyone has even had a glimpse at design thinking, it's so pervasive now in the conversation. I think for many, not just people in the startup, but people in business world, but even in their personal lives. There's a wonderful book called Designing Your Life by Bill Barnett, and I'm forgetting the other author's name at the moment. It'll come back to me. Dave Evan, in which they actually take design thinking and say, apply it to your life. How would you design the ideal life for you? And then what from design thinking, which methods could we use to make that a reality? And so it's a hard place to pinpoint, but I would say specifically design thinking helps us, particularly me and I, when we're having these tough conversations about, okay, well, where do we go? What market? What research should we look at? There's a method we always use, not always formally, but it rose, thorn, bud. And so,
I love that one.
Yeah, you know that one, right?
We shared that one.
Yeah. And for those who aren't familiar with it, it's just a metaphor that, at least from my understanding, came from the Boy Scouts of America, which really meant, hey, kids, get out there and start journaling the good things, the negative things, and opportunities that you're seeing in the world. And that could take a number of paths. But at Fatherly, usually what we're doing is we're not quite using sticky notes, but we're framing our conversations like that. Okay, well, what's the rose here? What do we think is the happy path, the outcome? What are the thorns? What might prick us? What might bite us? Or what might just be a challenge? We don't want to avoid thorns, but what might be a challenge? And then the opportunities are usually like, oh, Jay-Z, that's a really good idea. I don't think we can get to it right now. And so we'll have this internal motto. There's no bad ideas, just priorities. And sure, yes, you can have bad ideas. Don't get me wrong. Like, I don't want to tell you to go jump off a cliff because your friend said go jump off a cliff. Bad idea. But in the terms of, as a business, we need to allow those ideas to sort of slap themselves on the wall or on a Slack chat or whatever the platform you're using. And we don't put any formal judgment on it per se. We just say, no bad ideas, just priorities. We can't get to that right now, Jay-Z. And so that's where I would say design thinking has been most impactful for us.
Awesome. And, everyone in the chat, please put your questions in about design thinking as well. I know someone has a question later for the AI part. How much manpower was it to set it up and run? But we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
So the design thinking part, you're saying that it's about including all the ideas without committing to doing them all and prioritizing them all at the same time.
Yeah, correct. Because I think if everything's important, then nothing's important. You can't do everything at once. You can try, but it doesn't turn out well in most cases.
And then I want to ask about the user. So did you always know that dads might not want to talk to a person or might not want to, be so public about their questions? Or, what did you discover about dads in the user research that you've done?
Yeah, it's a rich and deep question. And, Dr. Mia has a lot of, this is her space. But what we did find, and I don't think you need to have a doctor tell you this, but let's face it, men are just not going to tell you. When something is upsetting them, or particularly when it comes to a father-like experience or a parenthood experience. Sure, there's outliers, great, but even for myself, sometimes I tend to take the stoic road. I tend to be a little bit more self-reliant, not because I'm trying to be. It's just there's parts of the way I was raised where it's like you have to be resilient, and so removing myself from that for a moment, there's just enough rich research that says, men often face that societal expectation to be stoic, self-reliant. And so what happens is, as a byproduct of that, they're discouraged in seeking traditional offline support. Think mental health, sometimes even coaches, sometimes just knocking in the door. Hey, Eric, I'm having a really rough day. My kid is driving me crazy. Even just that little move sometimes is discouraged, for a lack of better words. And
That
so
sucks.
it
That
does
sounds
suck.
terrible.
Yeah. Yeah. The research, we went back probably about 2008. There was a really interesting work done by this psychologist, Dr. John Suller. And I think the paper was something like, the online behavior of cyberspace. Remember that word, Jay-Z? I feel like
We're not old enough to know that word.
I feel like I'm aging us. But really is he really unpacked what's going on the internet. Why are people saying certain things that they are? Why are trolls proliferating? Why are individuals actually more comfortable speaking certain truths about their lives when perhaps they might not say that in public?
Okay.
Yeah. So we were like, okay, well, we got a tick and tie here, dads online. And so what Dr. Soller's work showed was this thing called online disinhibition. Like, you're uninhibited. No, it doesn't mean you have to drink something, but just online, you're sort of disembodied. No one can really see you, and you tend to vent, or you'll tell things that you might not normally. And so we thought that was a key factor in our research in getting men to open up about their mental health. And so I'll stop there. I've said a lot, but that's part of what we were seeing.
That's fascinating. Everyone in the chat, feel free to ask your question. But my question, and then we'll move on, is how has Fatherly helped dads so far? Is it opening up a conversation that normally dads don't have, or is it actually getting a resolution? Like, how does dad help potty train? Any examples you can give?
Yeah, one of the things that we're seeing is just the dialogue starting. Like, yay, okay, we got you there. Whew, great start. Like, that's a huge win. We got to get people online and talking. Being careful of certain individuals and certain details. One of the more positive stories is a couple of fathers who are saying, I'm stuck. I have a certain amount of daughters, and they're driving me crazy, and I just want to know, is this normal? And the answer, of course, is yes. And we're here to help validate and unpack that. And so what we are finding is they'll get into some great conversations, and then they disappear for a while, which is not unlike a male approach to communication in general. Men tend to engage, pull back, be pensive, think about it, and then come back. But what we're finding is when we give, not saying myself particularly, but when the community provides certain advice, if the dad is in agreement with it, the one receiving the advice, they'll disappear and come back and go, that worked. Or go, it worked, right? Or it didn't work. Can we try again? And so there's a willingness that we're seeing for men to be open to trying things versus, sort of blankly getting online and going, I got this problem, tell me what to do. They're actually more engaged, and it's a much slower engagement process than, say, you would like a TikTok or a Instagram, where it's just immediate like. And it's like, well, what did you actually see? What did you actually engage with? And so some of our early data showing the engagement's a little bit more richer.
Wow, that's really interesting. So you're saying that when the conversation stops, it could also mean that it worked. it's enough said?
Possibly, or they're going off to test it and then come back and let us know, which is really rich data for obvious reasons. But yeah, it could be it just worked.
That's fascinating. Yeah, that's very action based.
Yeah.
Could be construed as male. That's interesting.
I mean, that is kind of our audience, but
yeah.
We'll own that. We'll own that one.
All right. Well, let's move on to the second question. How much impact has AI made on Fatherly?
Not a whole lot yet, but I will show something here on the screen that we're working on. Let's present. And I'll just show this on screen just to give. I know for some of you who are on a podcast listening, you won't be able to see this, but I'll walk through the narrative. So what I'm about to show is our Fatherly's virtual coach prototype. And hang in there with me because this is a bit of a journey, and we think AI plays a role. But I want to be very clear, and Jay-Z, just let me know when you have visuals.
Yeah, we're up.
Okay. At Father, we believe both humans and AI are critical to the parenthood journey. Right? We don't want to just put you in front of a chatbot. And so we see an environment where a dad might seek help from our coach, our AI-based coach, but then surface some of that more nuanced discussion from the human coaches. And so what I'm about to show on the screen is a scenario in which a dad is interacting with his child. The child may have perplexed him or put him in a state where he doesn't quite know how to address it. And he reaches out to Fatherly human coach. But once they're done with the coaching session, they can actually interact with the AI coach for follow-up. Like, oh, I didn't quite understand what, Coach Eric meant by this. And the AI, we want to have our own secure, private LLM that understands the nuance of that conversation. And then once we get through the visuals, what happens is the dad can actually continue his conversation with the coach. Let's say he's having a brainstorm or something happens and his child is just like on his nerves or has done something really great and he wants to express it to his coach. The coach can then pick up where the AI coach left off. And we view that as shrinking the coaching timeline. So there's not a lot of the, hey, let's get on a call. Let me tell you about my entire day yesterday. The coach can actually look at the transcript from the previous engagement. And so what we're going to see here on the screen is just that scenario. So we have a father who's listening intently to his son. And then he moves over and speaks to a video conference human coach. Later, he's on his tablet interacting with our AI coach, and we're showing a simulation at the moment, but we feel like it needs to be personified. It needs to have an avatar. And he would say, hey, hello, what's your take on, raising a child X? And so now we're seeing a visual where the dad's back online with the coach, and, he and his son are hugging and embracing because, he's gotten some really good advice from, Fatherly. And so I stopped sharing. I don't know if it's brought you back to the main screen.
Yeah, we're back.
Yeah. So we don't have a name yet, but we do. That's our AI prototype. We believe that it will have great impact for the coaching cycle so that the coach doesn't always constantly have to be on, but we also believe in the power of human and the human conversation.
So you're saying that there's stuff happens between the coaching sessions, and sometimes, at the most convenient times, our kids will just do something and we want to talk to our coach about it.
Yeah.
And so you found that problem and you're using AI to solve it, or are you using AI to solve a different problem?
No, I think you've captured that really well. In that life happens, and you can't just call up your coach at midnight and say, Coach Eric, my kid is screaming because he can't watch his tablet. Well, you get on our AI coach, and that coach will have known the context of previous coaching sessions, knows, your child's name, knows the context, and will be able to give some intermediary advice. And should it not, we understand AI is limited. So should that not suffice, that's when you get on the call the next day and say, Coach Eric, did you read what happened on my last night at midnight? Yep. Let's dig into it. Here's what I think you can do. 1, 2, 3, and whatever the appropriate advice might be.
I see. It's kind of like the on-call nurse. Like, should I go to the ER or
not?
not?
Yeah, totally.
And so, have you seen interaction with this yet, in terms of like dads feeling like
no? So we're still in testing mode behind the scenes. We're still developing it. We're really taking it slow. We really want a secure and private language model for obvious reasons. We don't want people's private conversations out, and so we're taking that step slowly. Plus, we also want a unique UI experience for that. For those of you who couldn't see that, we had sort of an animated character. I don't know what that's going to look like, but I do believe that's important to have a really rich UI experience. I don't know if it's going to be anthropomorphized or a shape, but clearly people have an appetite for really clean design, really useful design, even if it's just a box and some places to write your comments or your request. We really want to get that correct.
Yes, it was a call to action for dads listening to join and help train the model.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So part of what you can do is get the Fatherly app, fatherlyapp.com, sign up. You can do it on a web-based, although the mobile experience is much more preferred. And within the conversation space there, the language model can learn from what are dads really interested in. Sometimes it's not even, I don't even care about, the parenthood experience per se. Like, I'm kind of good. Like, me and my kid, we got a good relationship. What I'm interested in is, do I have the right set of scholastic books for my kid who is neurodivergent? Or, do I have the right vacuum for a high traffic area with 3 boys and a dog? And so we want to partner with the right set of products and services that make sense for a father's journey, and not just be another Amazon, but like, what does it actually mean to give the fatherly advice? Oftentimes I call my dad up and like, I'm good with my dad and my son's behavior, but like, what about his batting swing? Or what's a good batting glove? Or, he's really starting to get into, painting. What's the right set of colors to start with that, is it texture or, things of that nature that are, yes, they're product based, but they're also enhancing both the child and the father's journey.
Yeah. So every day I tell ChatGPT how I would retrain it, and it says, I was trained like 3 years ago. Stop telling me. So for, viewers out there, it's really important to retrain a model and give it updated information that's not marketing based, it's user based, and tell it when it's wrong. So that's what Eric is talking about. And Trey has a question. 10 years from now, what do you hope for this platform and the fathers that engage with your
app? Is that Trey Bowden?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's a bit of a provocateur.
Oh, good. Welcome, Trey.
Yeah. 10 years. Well, I don't see hardware out of the question. I see hardware being an integrated part of the fatherhood journey. I can imagine a world in which, it's a different type of Alexa. Could be something I'm wearing, could be an earpiece. Hey, fatherly, I'm about to get into it with my recalcitrant 16-year-old who wants to use the car at midnight and it's raining. What should? How do I keep my cool here? Right?
Oh my.
Or something. A family pet has died. Hey, coach, what's the right set of words here? So I could see a world in which hardware, biometrics might come into play. Maybe even sooner. I'll leave it at that.
I love that. The hardware, software.
Yeah.
Is it physical or digitful? There's a new meme.
Digital. Yeah.
Thank you, digital.
Yeah.
And then Trey's asking, how can the app help connect with older dads who might have that experience? Or how might older dads, for example, like retrain that large language model?
Oh, that's such a great question. That is, we have a couple of dads whose children are fully grown and they support our system. And so right now what they're doing are actual groups, so think like Zoom group and, hey, we're a bunch of old crotchety men and we miss our kids. And so they'll get online and talk. And so where it makes sense, we'll say, hey, either blog about it or get on and let us record one of your groups. And within reason, can we use your learnings from that? But yeah, Trey, I think you're hitting on something we're already looking into, which is we don't exclude dads just because they're all grown up.
Oh, wait. So when you talk about groups, this is IRR in real life?
No, they can be, or it can be Zoom based, or we do them groups within the app. Some of it's completely text based, right? For groups, it's like all dads in the Seattle area that have twin children, as an example, as a group, and so we have certain groups where there's one. It's like our kids are fully grown. And it really sucks to have an empty nest. I think I'm going to spend $200,000 on a boat because I miss my kids. And like they'll hop in and go, whoa, hold on. Maybe get a cheaper boat and ask your kids to come help you clean it up. Like fun little conversations like that where we see, the older generation enjoying their conversations within Fatherly.
Yeah, Trey, that's a great question. Eric, when you talk about record, can you give us an example then of recording that group?
I mean, it would be no different than what we do now when we say, hey, we're about to record this session in Zoom. The appropriate legal measures, waivers. But what we would, particularly in a coaching session, what I do even in my normal coaching sessions is I always let people know I'd like to record this session mainly for transcript because I'm going to forget things. And I always like to go back into my notes. And so what we would propose is if we're going to record this, we're using this less about who you are, say as Trey and Jay-Z having a conversation, but the content. Are we allowed to use the content of the conversation in order to train the model? And so that's where we want to be most mindful of that versus just absconding with your data or your conversation.
Got it. Alex is saying, I think I'm an older dad because I'm an older dude, but I have relatively young kids, teenagers. Either way, I love this model and its mission. Great job, Eric.
Yay. Thank you, Alex. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Alex, Trey, and everyone for supporting. Any other questions out there? Please chat them. And to close this second of 3 questions, I'm going to close with another question. How much manpower was it to set up and run? So I don't know if this is directed towards the app in general or the LLM, but can you just speak to what's been the biggest pull?
Well, for the app, I can't because all that credit goes to Mia, and she would have all the data points. We're probably going to see a heavy lift when it comes to the LLM, to what I understand it, how it takes. I think the biggest challenge for us, I can't give you a direct answer to be straightforward, but I think our biggest challenge, I want to get that UI right, and that just could be I'm a design nerd. But I think there's something to be said with my design thinking chops, that human-centered led approach. I don't care how great that AI coach is, if I can't interact with it seamlessly and in an efficient way, I just don't know if we're going to be successful. And so that's why I'm really leaning in on that element of it.
Are there any new design patterns like share with LLM, or like put this conversation into the training model, or redact this part? Are there any new UI elements and patterns that you're building?
I think all of that, but no, it's too early for me to say what is deemed new. But yes, sharing, permission to record, permission to invite people to train it, I think is crucial. But no, I can't give you any sort of net new learnings that we have. We just started on this journey earlier this July, so more to follow, Jay Z.
Appreciate the candor, because I don't think anyone really knows.
No, I
It's
don't
not
think
like
so either.
anyone knows how to add conversation to train model, right? That's not a thing that we've seen yet. All right, well, we're going to round out the last question. It's a question about a question. What questions do you have for the founder designthinking.com community?
So from me to them,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Well, give me fatherly advice. What should a fairly young startup person at this stage be thinking about? I was told early on in startups that borrow other people's money. Okay, great. That doesn't help me build anything. Although I like the advice. um, but I'm starting to think about um, what does a team look like? What happens if this thing does take off? What then? So advice around that, I'm willing and open to take. And if you want to fund us too, that'd be great too. But ultimately, I'm looking at being mindful of what happens when we scale, and what are some things to think about now before it becomes a good problem to have.
I've been doing a lot of marketing validation
Yeah.
in addition and ahead of user research. So with AI, it's so quick to make like 10 websites, which are all A/B tests, and see like which button helps train the model or which call to action. That's something that I don't think we could have done last year without all these AI tools.
Right. So you see it as a helpful way to automate the marketing testing process.
Yeah, because if your idea is, dads come in and chat so we can train the model, you could do 3 tests, like dads come in and chat um, about successes, like older dads. You could do a second test, a B test, like dads come in and chat about questions that you're really struggling with, or see like dads come in and chat only if you're anonymized, right? Like how do we protect privacy of your data? You do 10 of these tests and then see which one sticks and which one you should prioritize, because we all have great ideas. Like you said about design thinking in the beginning, there's so many ideas. Which one do we start with?
Mm. Yeah. Well, that's very useful. Well, I'll take that. Anyone else putting any?
Alex, it actually has a question. So, in terms of metrics of the community, I'm actually going to show it on the screen. What are the current numbers and size of the community? Where would you like to see it grow to in the next 6 months? And how are you marketing and promoting the app?
Yeah. Okay. Great question. Great to put me on Front Street there, Alex.
Thanks, Alex.
I think we're just shy of 2,000 active community members at the moment. Having just started really getting our footing in July. And so next 6 months, boy, I'd like to see that number 10x, honestly. But the way we're promoting it is having lovely people like Jay-Z have us on, talk about it. A lot of grassroots. We're holding a webinar in late August. Part of what we want to do is build trust first. I think our philosophy is we're not building another Meta, TikTok, Instagram. We have to build trust with this community first, particularly a community that doesn't want to talk. And so we're taking the slow roll approach. Community outreach, free webinars, how to deal with communication with your children in a tough circumstance, or what's the psychology of your trigger as a parent. Joining the app for free, giving discounted coaching and therapy sessions to see is this what you want? Is this what's going to make sense? So that's part of our big initiative to promote the app. Build the trust first. Make sure that we're saying the right things, or at least connecting with the right content.
Awesome. Well, I think we're trending towards the end. Any other comments, please put them in the chat now. And then for closing out, Eric, it sounds like there's a webinar. People should sign up for the app and have conversations. Anything else you want to plug in terms of how they can support the cause?
Yeah, so you can go to fatherly.com, and that's fatherly with an I, not the Y. Fatherly with a Y is more of a magazine about the fatherhood experience. Fatherly I. There you can learn all about us, Mia, myself, and our advisors. On there, you can also sign up for the webinar, or you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty open to most messages, and just keep the dialogue going. If anything, even if the Fatherly app doesn't quite take off, we always encourage you to keep those conversations going. If you have a dad or a person you can talk to, keep that conversation going. So thank you, Jay-Z. I appreciate your letting me spend some time with you today.
No, thank you so much for talking about trust and community building. It's really awesome to see. I don't think this is a community where people are going to come in and build like 10 profiles and then leave. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
And so we'll close out. I would love any of you to also book my Calendly or my Cal. I just switched to cal.com to talk about using AI to test your ideas and just in general make a better version of your product and grow your users. The next podcast will be about a art and technology community, and go to fatherly.com. I think that's it.
Awesome. Well, thanks everybody. Appreciate it. And Jay-Z, not going to put you on the spot, but it sure be cool to hear you wrap us out of here.
Oh.
You don't have to.
Well, let me think. This is just like, what I used to do at Capital One. But if you think you got problems, I got 99 problems, and AI ain't one.
Yeah. There you go. I'll take it. Same here.
All right. Well, thanks, Julio, Alex, Trey, and all others for your great questions. And Eric, we'll talk soon.
All right. We'll see you in traffic.
Okay.